Can you tell me why there are so many African players in this country?
Well, actually, football is a passion in Africa, and there are lots of talents bound, abound in Africa, But the league in Africa generally is somehow saturated, and so these players want to go elsewhere. And sometimes it's difficult to just get clubs in Europe. So Asia is now the next port of call for some of these players. So invariably, Cambodian football in the last 5 years has experienced some development, So these players are attracted to come to Cambodia.
And in what conditions do they live and do they play football here?
Well, that is the sad part of it because Cambodian football is developing, but in terms of the remuneration, it's not comparable to what happens in other part of Asia, even within the neighborhood. So, but most of these players really just want to leave Africa, so they come with the hope of finding at least a kind of stepping stone, and then training, and then getting a better offer elsewhere.
And can they find, is it a good stepping stone or not, in fact?
Well, it's better than nothing because in Africa, like I said, it's so saturated and sometimes nobody sees them. But the opportunity they have by coming to Asia and Cambodia, then they play regularly and then they have opportunity to move. I think in the last few years, some of them have been able to go to Thailand, where the league is a little bit more competitive, and then there is the attraction. Some of them also are in Vietnam. So for a large amount of these players, I think it's a real stepping stone for them.
And you said the salary is not really good, so can you tell more? Can you tell me
Yeah,
more?
that is the sad part of it because several times most of these players complain they play with very low income. You know what I mean? Yeah. So and without the remuneration, you cannot get the best out of the players. But I tell you the fact, their motivation is not just the money. Their motivation comes from the fact that they want to give their best, and then they want to get other clubs or other countries looking at them. But we hope that the Cambodian Football Federation will be able to step up and look at this aspect of remuneration, not just the foreign players. It also affects the local players. There should be a standard set for these clubs when they recruit these players, how much they're going to pay them. And the sad thing is that these players only play for only about 6 months, because the league is so short, it spans for about 4, maybe maximum 6 months. So these players live on income of only 6 months because after the league, they are out of contract.
And how much do they get paid, do you know?
Well, I do not know specifically, but it ranges from $200 to $600 a month. And well, if you add some clubs, depends on how rich the club. Some clubs give them accommodation, some clubs pay for feeding, some clubs also give them transport or motorbike and things like that. So maybe when you sum these things up, it's going to between 500 to 1,000, but still, it's still low compared to what happens in other part of the league.
And I heard there are too many African players compared to what the clubs can need, in fact.
Well, if you say too many, well, we don't know what is the real statistics now, but as of last year, I think there was a drop in the number of African players coming in and the number of African players in the league because the league set a new standard. Previously, you can have at least 5 foreign players playing, you know what I mean? At least 3 on the field, 2 on the bench. But last year, they changed the policy to only 3 players playing, and so no substitution of the foreign players. So automatically, this reduced the number of foreign players the clubs can absorb. And if this has to be so, then you can expect that they will reduce the number of players they want to sign up.
So there are less and less players coming from.
Yeah, there are less players coming now because apart from the fact that the league is not absorbing most of them, there is a little bit of restriction in terms of visa for these players to get visas to come into the country. So it becomes a little bit difficult for them to come, and so the number is reducing.
So do you mean that the Cambodian authorities try to solve the problem in a way?
Well, I don't know if there's a problem with the foreign players or with the players coming, because if you are now dropping the standard of the league, because when you don't have these players, then there is little or no competition. So for me, I think it's a wrong approach if that is their intention. But I think to a large extent, it's not just because of the players. There could be some other reasons why they have stopped allowing Africans to come, which affects some of these players. But by and large, I still think that the African players has contributed immensely to the development of the Cambodian league. And now the standard has dropped because last year there was virtually no competition. It was purely a two-horse race. You know what I mean? So right now, looking at it, the league will start very soon. There are very few African players that will be in the league.
And you said before they were allowed to have 5 foreign players in
Yeah.
the team. And has it changed? Has the rule changed?
The rule as at now is still 3 players. 3 players. The clubs can sign more than 3 players. They can sign 5. They can sign whichever number they want. You know. But what I'm saying is that if I'm only allowed to play 3 players. Then what is the economics of me taking in 5, 6, 7 players? You understand me? So these clubs are now, it's like their hands are tied. So they can only take players they can utilize.
And what about those who have no contract?
Well, for players who have no contract, some of them are training on their own, hoping and looking forward to see if there could be any opportunity coming here and there. And like I said, most of them see Cambodia as the launch pad to other places. So most of them are moving because it is easier for them to leave Cambodia for Thailand than for Thailand from Nigeria directly or from Africa directly to Thailand. So some of them come here to train regularly, sometimes with some of the clubs, and then when they get opportunity, they cross over to Thailand or Vietnam.
And are there some who are in a difficult situation?
Some what?
So some players,
Yeah.
no club, no money, no visa.
Yeah, of course, you will expect that these things happen. You know, some players are here. I wouldn't want to use the word stranded, but they are stranded because they pay a lot of money to come from Africa, and then they don't find a club, and then it's difficult for them to go back. So of course, they will want to find other means of livelihood. And I can tell you that some of them who are fortunate to have some educational skills are already diverting and becoming teachers and finding some other things to do apart from playing.
Can you tell us about your experience? Because you're a former football player, and
Yeah.
I think you're a teacher now, right?
Yeah. I played football to some extent back home in Africa, in Nigeria, and then I traveled to China where I played a little bit also. Yeah, and then when I came to Cambodia, we were part of the people that started the league sort of because then the league was not really in place. But fortunately, I have a good background in academics. So, and when I saw that the league would not pay me as a footballer, then I diverted and I became a lecturer, you know, in the university, which I'm doing up to now. And also I do some coaching. I coach grassroots football. So it is really hard for the African players to come here if they do not have options. If they don't have options, I wouldn't really advise them to come here because the market is saturated now, and the clubs are not really absorbing players. So it is only players who have exceptional skills, you know, that they can exhibit their skills very well that becomes more attractive. You know, like last year we had a player, I think Julius Obo, you know, he scored about 28 goals in the league, you know, in his first season, and now he's in Thailand. You know, so the thing is that sometimes when these players are exceptional also, they can't stay long. And that is why the football authorities need to be able to look at some of their policies to ensure that they keep these players. If good players remain in the league, then the league will be better for it. The fans will come. They want to see good players. But nobody wants to go to the stadium to see games that are not really attractive.
Can you describe the way they arrive from Africa to Cambodia with the brokers and etc.?
Well, in the past I know that there are football agents either in Nigeria or some of them are based here. Sometimes they are invisible, you know, and some of these football agents, they bring the players, you know, from Africa over here. So some of these players come without really knowing what is on ground because they are desperate. I will use the word. They are desperate to leave. They want to exhibit themselves. They want to get good contracts. So they are brought by some of their agents who promise them that, oh, if you come here, you get a job, and then you will be able to move to Europe or to South America or to any of the better leagues. You know, so of course there are brokers, but the thing is that sometimes these brokers are invisible. You don't see them. While some of them are ripping these players off, some of them are actually trying to get good contracts for these players.
And some players are cheated by those people.
Of course, you will not rule that out because some of these agents are only out there for their money, you know. And this was one of the things we tried to stamp out. I remember when I was the president of the Nigerian community here, I fought vigorously against this. I tried to make sure that most of these players are not ripped off, and I tried to educate some of them even before they come. And this has helped to forestall some of these players coming. And some of these agents have already left Cambodia, you know, because we try to alert them, we try to let them know the real situation on ground, you know. Especially 2 years ago, we lost one player on the field, and that player had no contract. He was playing invariably for free, you know. So sometimes the conditions are not really what we expect for professional players.
And when they come here, what are they told by the agent, by the broker?
Well, I wouldn't really know what the agents tell them, but from the experience I have had talking to some of these players, you know, they promise them that when they get here, they will find good clubs, you know, and maybe get good salaries, you know. Yeah, but to some extent, again, some of these players, like I said, I want to insist on that. They are desperate. Even when they know the real situation on ground, they just want to leave. And because they want to leave, they fall into those who are ready to cheat them. You know, so this is something that they must understand, that before you leave, you need to find out really the condition, the real situation. You know, because coming to Cambodia and playing for $200-300 a month, it's not going to take the player anywhere. For a foreign player, it's not going to take them anywhere. There is no way they can do well, you know. But for some of them, like I said, money is not their motivation. They want to play and they want to get at least some things that will be able to launch them into a greater, to greater places, you know. So for such players, they don't really care and they're ready to pay their way out.
And you said you tried to struggle against those agents, and was it difficult to do that?
Yes, it was difficult, really difficult, because first the agents pretend as if they are helping these players. They pretend as if they are trying to get good clubs for these players. And then these players see the agents as their God. You know, so sometimes when you are talking to them, they don't want to believe you. They think that, oh no, you're trying to discourage them, and they believe that they can make it. You know, but some of them realize quickly enough, and before their tickets runs out, they are gone.
And then they go back.
Yeah, they go back. Yeah.
And are there many people who are ready to go back to their home country because when they realize the real situation here?
Yeah. Some of them really want to go back because if they have their return ticket. If they have their return ticket, yes, they're going to go back.
But I mean, going back to their home country without having succeeded, what does it mean for them? Is it a failure, or for their family, for their friends?
Well, for some of them, it's a big disappointment. It's a disappointment because they spend a lot of money with the hope and with the expectation that they are going to make it big playing football. But then when they come and they discover that it is not what they expect, then they go back. They have to go back. But some of them swallow their pride and they go back. And they do better back home because they can get clubs and get better paid back in Nigeria than when they are here. You know. But for some of them, they feel that they cannot swallow their pride. And then they continue to struggle. But before they realize it, it becomes too late.
And how can they live here with a very small amount of
well, that's what I don't really know.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I don't really know how they survive, honestly speaking. But like I said, some of them are diverting. Some of them are taking other paths, maybe working as teachers, or some of them trying to, like those who have skills, at least who have education before they left Nigeria or Africa.
And I read in the newspapers maybe 2-3 years ago that some were involved in drug trafficking.
Footballers?
Nigerians.
Okay.
But I don't know if they were footballers or not.
Well, I'm not sure that I don't think there's been any case of any footballer having such problems. But I think in the case of drugs or whatever, yeah, of course, sometimes some Africans are caught, and these are some of the things that even affect the footballers because they don't know who is who. But luckily, like I said, during my time I was the president, we tried to stamp this out. We tried to educate the people and try to let them know. But you know that there will always be some recalcitrant few who will not adhere to the laws of the land, and then they are got caught.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.